Susan Coyle has always been on the road, a lifelong journey that led her to command a task group in Afghanistan and Australia's military in the Middle East.
It is critical that we remember that every single one of us is an ambassador, a representative of Australia.
Her life on the move began at a dam site in Kyogle in northern New South Wales.
It was transient. So my father worked for the Water Resources Commission within the New South Wales government, and we would move from dam site to dam site, and once the wall was built to capture the water, our house would get packed up onto 2 trucks and we'd go to the next dam site.
The latest far-flung destination is by the banks of the Charles River outside Cambridge, Massachusetts, where the soon-to-be 3-star general is studying at Harvard, and where an Australian uniform is a tourist attraction. The management skills she's collecting at Harvard Business School will soon be tested. From July, she'll be Chief of Joint Capabilities, in charge of 2 of the military's newest commands, cyber and space. She'll be the first woman to command a warfighting domain.
Command of Joint Capability is really regarded as almost the 4th of our service chiefs. We have traditional domain chiefs for Navy, Army and Air Force and have had them for hundreds of years. The 4th chief is now the domains that cover the new areas of human conflict, so space, cyberspace, information warfare, that's the manipulation of the truth.
It's about changing the will of the enemy and deterring them from fighting. It's a really interesting part of our organisation within the cyber domain with Inside Defence.
Information warfare is used extensively in the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
If you Google Zelensky smoothie, it's a cartoon and it shows you how to create a Molotov cocktail. That's an example of information warfare. You know, another example is a fake news broadcast where a video has been tampered with that shows Zelensky telling his troops to put down their weapons. Another example of that. You know, or for example, one from the Ukraine side where they did a Russian pamphlet and it showed Russian soldiers how to defect.
Information warfare is deployed by the Australian military and used against it too, like in the slick propaganda of the ISIS years that enticed young Australians to fight in Syria and Iraq.
We have brothers from Bangladesh, from Iraq, from Cambodia, Australia, UK.
Finding and combating online propaganda requires new methods, like artificial intelligence.
The AI is a growing field inside the Australian Defence Force. You know, a good example is using AI and machine learning to be able to identify violent extremist organisations on the internet and then use that to counter any disinformation that we're seeing. I mean, the truth though is that if we're doing that, then so is our adversary. So we've got to constantly learn and get smarter at it so that we can be one step ahead.
Coyle will also oversee Australia's embryonic space command.
One of the things that might signal future conflict is when there are attacks on geostationary satellites. Things like GPS, we're all incredibly addicted to GPS. We mightn't know it, but of course Google Maps on our phone relies on that, but so too does encryption, which means our banking processes. All of those require what we call precision navigation and timing from space. So Australia needs an understanding of what is happening in space. We call that space situational awareness.
Retired Major General Gus McLaughlin has known Coyle for decades.
Yeah, in some ways she represents a transition in the officer corps of the Army. The 21st century domain, space, cyber, information warfare, requires a new generation of officers who've come through, the digital natives who understand that environment.
Fighting on new frontiers comes with old-fashioned problems, like enticing and keeping highly skilled workers.
We're a more technologically advanced military now than we've ever been, so we're competing with major companies for software engineers and the like. I mean, that's problematic as well. But I think ultimately, you know, we just have to create something where people want to be a part of. And I think once people get in the door, they love it And then it's up to us as leaders to make sure that they feel valued and empowered and want to stay for as long as they choose to.
Susan Coyle has shifted base 28 times in her career. Her husband Mark also serves in the Army.
I know only too well, as both a serving wife and mother, the sacrifice that our families and our friends make to support us.
I was very conscious that for my children, once they hit high school, we tried to have stability, and so we would base, one of us would be based in Canberra, or if necessary, my son went into boarding school for a couple of years. But it's a choice. Kids get a choice. You get great experiences from living abroad as well, or living in other states.
When Coyle joined the military, around 10% of soldiers were women, and the highest ranked female officer was a colonel. When she's promoted to Lieutenant General in July, she'll be one of 3 female 3-star generals.
I went to the Defence Academy with the other ladies. I've known all of them my whole life, and there's plenty more of us. There's lots of really good women coming through who have worked really hard, have done all the right types of jobs, and I think are being recognised. It's a wonderful place to be.